Yo, 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 what's that word? This is 13 in the podcast. I'm your host, Broderick. Now, today we're doing a second schedule prediction for the number two ranked team via the coaches poll, the Michigan Wolverines. Now, the Michigan Wolverines, I think it's important that I highlight why exactly I put two pictures of the offensive line. It's because with these back-to-back reigning Outland Trophy award winners, you can see it feels like you're getting blocked by 10 dudes instead of five at all times. Now, get more serious with the topic. Before we get into the full schedule breakdown and predictions, I did want to highlight round three or four key things. First, how the Michigan Wolverines match up with their rivals. Now, first, we're going to do Michigan State. That game this year is going to be played in East Lansing at Michigan State. Michigan State had a rough year last year. The best player transferring out, Keon Coleman, to the Florida State Seminoles, and their quarterback, Peyton Thorne. Now, Peyton Thorne wasn't incredibly efficient last year, but we know Mel Tucker hasn't, well, not Mel Tucker, I'm sorry. Yes, Mel Tucker actually has recruited very well, so we have to see how they play out. We know they're going to have a strong defense. It is going to be in East Lansing, so that'll be interesting. We'll have to see what my schedule prediction is going to be at the end for the Michigan State game. But I do want to say that I think Michigan State matches up well, but we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be a tough defensive slugfest as it always is. Next rival will be Ohio State Buckeyes. This game is in Michigan in the big house. We know that place is going to be raucous with two straight victories over the Ohio State Buckeyes for the Michigan Wolverines. I expect that game to be high scoring. Again, we got to see how whoever the Ohio State quarterback is going to be, whether that's Devin Brown or Kyle McCord, how that's going to play out. I love the matchup of Will Johnson on Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm going to talk about a little bit later on that other cornerback spot versus Emeka Ibuka and some of the other Ohio State receivers, whether that's Julian Fleming. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I do think they match up very well. I think Michigan is going to have the same game plan that they had, which is wear Ohio State Buckeyes down, and we'll see what happens in the schedule prediction. So next thing we're going to discuss is potential upsets. Now, the potential upsets I just talked about Ohio State a little bit, which is getting to the point if you know the 20-year history. But if you boil down to the last matchup and the matchup before that, Michigan has got the better of them. So it is a surprise, and I'm not surprised at all that Michigan, I believe, is going to come in this game as the favorite, especially being at home. Why they can accept them, explosive offense, and I think the Ohio State defense is going to be better this year, especially with I'm not even going to try to say his name, defensive end for Ohio State, JT two something. I don't want to mess up his name too bad. They got Steel Chambers, a couple of guys on that Ohio State defense. Um, I think Mike Hall is defensive tackle for Ohio State, very productive defensive tackle. And we know they recruit very well. I think they got Jordan Hancock as well. Very high on him. Very high on Ohio State as I should be with the way they recruit and their program overall. But I think that's a potential upset game for the Michigan Wolverines. Out of that, Penn State. Penn State. Give me 1 second to see if that game is played at home or on the road. It's at Penn State too. So I want to know if this is going to be a whiteout game. More than likely, it is going to be because you got the number two ranked Michigan Wolverines coming in for Penn State. Uh, I like Drew Allard. I thought he was a very well regarded and deserving 5-star recruit from Ohio, actually. Drew Allard. Uh, So we got to see how he's going to replace their veteran quarterback, how that's going to go. They got the running backs, Nick Singleton, and I'm forgetting the other running back name, but they had one of the most productive tandems, especially freshman tandems in the nation last year. Again, Penn State has an excellent defense led by Chop Robinson and some other incredible players on that team. So we're gonna see how they play. I think it's gonna be a tough game, and see my schedule prediction at the end again. I want to butt in real quick. If you guys like the video or any of my videos, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop your schedule prediction down in the comment section. Tell me if I'm going too far, if I'm tripping, or if I'm not tripping. And of course, all fan bases are welcome. Thank you. Now back to the video. The top three players on offense for the Michigan Wolverines. One, I had, well, this is in no order, but the top three players, Blake Corum. I could have put a slash between Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. I think both of them are going to have similar carries amounts. And Donovan Edwards is arguably the most talented and more valuable NFL prospect. But Blake Corum is highly regarded in his own rights as an NFL prospect and as a Heisman contender behind that large offensive line and all the talent he possesses. Second, I would have the quarterbacks. I always have to go with the quarterbacks. J.J. McCarthy. We have to see this year he takes another step. This is his first year as the starter, so he was getting comfortable in the system. And Jim Harbaugh does a good job of making it so the quarterbacks only have to manage the game and not make mistakes. We know he wants to play physical defense, run the ball, not have turnovers. And I think J.J. McCarthy fits that role very well. But I want to see if he expands his what he does with his pass efficiency numbers and how he spreads the ball to the offense because obviously teams are going to try to load up to stop that running those two dynamic running backs. Third on the offense, I got Colston Loveland, tight end from last year, sophomore coming in. You've been hearing reports out of Michigan. He is possibly the most talented tight end they've ever had. And we know Michigan consistently pumps out NFL tight ends. So that's a big statement. But I think he's going to take another step in this offense. As we know, like I just said, Michigan always has great tight ends, and they're going to definitely be playing with those two tight end sets, that 12 personnel, and they're going to want to run the ball. But I think they're also going to he's also going to potentially be the number two option in the passing game as well, and definitely number one at his position. So the top three players on the Michigan defense. My first one would be Rod Moore, 6 foot, 185-pound safety. He also grew up in the state of Ohio, so the rivalry is there. Versatile defensive back. I think he's going to be a top 10 to top 12 safety in the nation this year, as he probably was last year via all his grades, especially advanced analytics. And I expect him to be probably a second, third, maybe even first team All Big Ten selection this year. We got to see how it plays out. Next, we have Chris Jenkins, defensive tackle, 6'3", 309 pounds. Physical freaks. I think he was featured in Bruce Feldman's top 50 list. He was either a top 20 to top 50 on the freaks list, so we know how athletic he is, and especially the guys he's been around. Played a lot behind Mozzie Smith last year, and now is his chance to step up and be the guy in that defensive tackle room. He's facing a lot of competition, but I think he's going to step up to the plate and be that number one defensive tackle and look to ride off into the NFL this coming year as a senior. Next, we have the best player on the team, in my opinion. That's former five-star sophomore cornerback, standing 6'2", 194-pound Will Johnson. I think he has a chance to be a top 10 again to 15 cornerback in the nation this year. Great NFL size already, speed, coverage skills. He was a total package as a prospect, and he proved that starting the last games or better half of last year for the Michigan Wolverines, who ended up going to the college football playoff. I think we're going to see a lot again with him in that matchup against Marvin Harrison Jr. It's one of the most anticipated matchups of the year, and I personally can't wait to see it between two high caliber NFL prospects. Next, we'll discuss the key storyline. To me, the key storyline for the Michigan Wolverines this year is that second cornerback and overall depth at cornerback. I think the returning players after DJ Turner went in the NFL draft this year, the returning players only had a combined 129 steps. Now, we know Michigan recruits and develops well, so I think the talent is going to be there, but obviously teams are going to target that second cornerback over there and not try to test Will Johnson too much this coming year. So it's going to be important that they step up in that slot in second cornerback position. To me, that's going to be the key to the season, and that's going to be the key between having a couple of losses and potentially being national championships. The national champion, I should clarify on that. So, which I think they have a chance to do. So moving on, and finally, we're going to get to the schedule prediction itself. Give me 1 second to pull the schedule that one a little bit small for your boy. Okay, the Michigan Wolverines schedule. Game 1 at home. Well, the first 4 games are at home against East Carolina. I got Michigan with a dub here. Let's keep track. Against UNLV at home. I got Michigan with a dub here. Bowling Green. I think Bowling Green is going to put up a little bit of a fight in the beginning, but I think ultimately they're going to get wear down. And I got Michigan with another dub here at home. Rutgers. Rutgers is recruiting really well this cycle. I think they're getting much more serious about football and actually wanting to compete and not being a doormat of the Big Ten anymore. So that's not going to change my prediction, though. I think Rutgers played them okay last year, and we're going to see how that plays out. They're still a rebuilding, developing program. So I got Michigan ultimate with the dub here. So we got Michigan at 4-0, battling. At this point, they're going to be battling teams like, of course, Georgia, Florida State. Maybe we're going to see their schedule with predictions down the line, but maybe a team like Alabama and even Ohio State down the line for that #1 team in the nation. Probably still be #2 at this time if Georgia's undefeated. By the way, for that Georgia schedule prediction I did first, go check out the channel, subscribe for more exclusive content. Visit Hattie'sCollection.com for my merchandise. Thank you. We're going to continue on with the schedule prediction. So we got at Nebraska. Now, I think they're going to be a very improved team this year with Matt Rule, better coach, better recruits. But again, this is year 1. They're going up against a road grader in this Michigan team. They play similar styles. I do think that Nebraska is going to be more spread out. You're going to see more of that Baylor system installed and things of that nature. But I think Michigan, again, when the second half starts, they're going to run away with it. So I got Michigan starting out at 5-0. We got Minnesota. I think this is going to be a sneaky good game. But again, I got Michigan pulling away in the second half. I think Minnesota was on the upswing, and now they're sort of plateauing, and we got to see how that plays out. So Michigan is 6-0. Next, we got Indiana. A couple years ago, this was an interesting game. Now I just think Michigan is going to out talent them. I got Michigan at 7-0 over Indiana at home. At Michigan State, again on the road against the Spartans. This is going to be a tough defensive game. What day does this play? October. Michigan State fans and Michigan fans, let me know if it be snowing in Michigan by this point. I don't really know as I'm a Florida resident. But, again, I think it's going to be a tough game. Rivalry games are always really interesting, except when you're as far apart as two programs are right now. And I got Michigan as a potential national champion and Michigan State just not on that level right now. So I'm going to have to I'm going to have to select Michigan as the winner in this game. So Michigan is at 8-0 versus Purdue at home with a new coaching staff. This might have been interesting if Jeff Brom was still there. But right now, I'm going to have to go with Michigan to win, and they'll be 9-0. Next, we have at Penn State. This is the biggest toss-up game on the schedule to me. This is going to be Michigan's toughest game. The teams are both very similar, in my opinion. In fact, they're extremely similar. They're extremely similar. And it's going to be a tough game. Whew, this is a hard one. This is really flip the coin in the air type game. But I think this is Jim Harbaugh's most talented team. I think a player like Ernest Hoffman is going to really show up in this game. So I got Michigan pulling out this game on the road, but I don't feel great about it. But I got Michigan pulling out this game on the road. So Michigan's 10-0. Next we have versus Maryland. I don't think this is the year for Maryland. I do think they have a talented team. I like what Loxley is doing over there. He's recruiting well, developing well, and we got to see what Tonga Valor, the quarterback, is going to do over there. but I like Michigan in this game. I like Michigan at this point to be 11-0. And at Ohio State, the big game in the big house. This is going to be one of those games where you gotta watch how both seasons play out for each team. Michigan, I don't think they're going to be tested until that Michigan State game. They're going to be tested much at all. Ohio State, you guys are going to watch the schedule breakdown because you're going to subscribe to the channel again. And but this is going to be a tough game. I'm going to be closely watching the battle between Will Johnson and Marvin Harrison Jr. He's probably going to receive a lot of help bracket wise from Ron Moore. You don't want to let a player like Marvin Harrison Jr., who's potentially, if not the best player in the country at this point, play on an island. But this is going to be a chance for Emeka Ibuka to feast on whoever that second cornerback is for Michigan. Not to mention players like Julian Fleming, freshmen like Carnell Tate, and Brandon Innings as well. The Ohio State wide receivers, this is going to be a game they're going to want to air it out and speed up the tempo. But ultimately, this game, the game is going to decide the season for both teams. And right now, I just got probably unfathomable for Ohio State fans to hear me say this, but I got Michigan with 3 straight victories over Ohio State to finish 12-0. And I do have Michigan in the college football playoff with a chance to win a national championship. So this video has been fun. Again, y'all like this video, comment on the video, let me know y'all thoughts, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all. Peace.